Today, we're going to try something a little different from my usual. Still a spreadsheet, no change there. I was sitting with my wife the other night and we were just talking about things we would do differently. Um, things that if we knew better, how would we change things? So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a few short series and I really want you to put stuff in the comments. Remember, I'm all about this crowdsourcing thing where maybe we can come up with a nice source of things that we would tell our kids and even maybe people are watching that are younger can get some of your wisdom in what you would and wouldn't do. So I'm going to do this series. There's going to be like 3 or 4 of them where I look back and say, if I could tell myself if I could give myself advice in certain age ranges, and I broke it up in what I thought were like significant age ranges, what would some of that advice be? So let's crank through it. So the first age range we're going to cover is 25 to 34. I can tell you what I was doing at 25 years old. I got married, which seemed really old at the time, not so old now. At 30, we had our first kid. My wife knew she didn't want to work, and I was down with that. So we bought a really small house at 30, at 30, and then at 34 we bought a little bigger house. For the most part, we either had no kids or had kids that were really little. Like we probably just had Zachary, and he was probably only like 1 or 2 because it was at 30. So and then we had our second Dylan. So let's just go through some of my ideas. I'm going to make it short, distinct, and to the point. You can add in the comments things that you think of. And if people are interested in this, I just won't do another one. I'll go back to what I normally do. So here's the first one. In my opinion, don't take a break. Go hard. So this time of your career, you're probably, and you can even say it's maybe 22 through 34. Now's the time to rock and roll. Work hard, get into a career you somewhat like that can pay the bills, and go hard. This is where I learned so much of my stuff. A lot of my career is built on these building blocks, like how to learn stuff on your own, how not to wait for somebody to teach you, all self-learning stuff, all that kind of stuff. Look into getting your master's right away. I don't have my master's. All my kids were thinking about getting their master's, and then as soon as they got into the business of life, they didn't get their master's. I was old school where they told me, hey, you should go away, go work in the real world for a couple of years, then go back and get your master's because you'll have a better perspective. I just don't know how many people do that. In my world, not too many people do that. So I'm almost of the opinion now, I'll be curious what you guys think, to just go get your master's right away. You know, dig out some more debt. Now, I mean, that's another thing. I don't know if I have it here. Don't get into debt. This is where it's so important for parents of young people to make the right decision for them, even when they don't like it. So all of my kids have no debt, so they could take on some debt. If they wanted to go get a master's, they could take on some debt. I guess they always thought they would go to work for a company and then get their master's while they're with the company, but they just get so busy in life having such a good time that they don't go to get their master's. So, get a good job, go hard. Here's another one. Look for a new job every 2 years. This is like my generation didn't look for a new job. And so what I learned later in life is the people who are steady Eddie that work there at the company are usually totally taken advantage of. I mean, you may have had a different experience, but a lot of times I find they just don't appreciate you. And so somebody with coming in new has a better shot at getting a better salary than you do. And they never listen to you until you actually walk in and resign. So I would say look for another job. And what I would tell people is, hey, that worked for me. Hey, if you find out they're paying more, then go or give me a chance. But if you find out you're happy, then I'm happy because then you're more appreciative of your job. So it's a win-win. As far as retirement goes, Roth, Roth, Roth. Hopefully in those 22 to 30-ish age brackets, hopefully you'll be making good money, but hopefully it'll be the low end of your income bracket. So now's the time to lock in all those gains, pay the taxes on it, and get them all tax-free. So Roth, Roth, Roth. I didn't know anything about that. I didn't even know if they had a Roth when I was this age. Probably not. I think they were just introducing 401ks. Save for a house, but not tons. So you're only young once. Work hard. Work your butt off while you're working. Be innovative. Bring new ideas. But don't worship the thing. Same for a house. Save for your house. Realize it's there, but make sure you're putting your money away. Pay yourself first. Actually, let me rephrase: pay your future self first, because you're going to be really happy you have a house. And I remember my father when he sold my father-in-law when he sold his house. I was like, oh, we're never going to get that chance. Real estate's never going to go crazy again, and it did. It went crazy. So save for a house so you can get into your first house. I got into my first house at 30. Yeah, 30. Because I was married at 25. We bought our first house, maybe 28, something like that. And then we had our first kid at 30. Take some vacations before the kids come. Vacations for 2 are a lot less expensive than vacations for 6. So take the vacations, and all this is in moderation. You just do the best you can do. The key is to be aware of it. So take some vacations before the kids come. Like I said, vacation for 2 is way easier than for 6. First job, get that 401k set up. Figure out how much you want to put into it. I would say do a budget at this point. Maybe a better approach that I'm looking at now is figure out the 2-3 things that are most important to you. 401k, house, and 401k can be your Roth too. And then put that money in there first, and whatever's left, spend. Maybe that's the easiest, most realistic budget. I did a very detailed budget. Have the right perspective on your job. I think I talked about this a little. Don't worship it, but work hard when you are there. I kind of worshiped it. They said, oh, this has to be done by this date. I was doing it. You need to work a gajillion hours. I was doing it. And I think for the most part, like I made a really good salary when I left. I was making like 220. But you know what? It's like I think they sell you on that thing that you're going to become a C-level person, and some people will, and some people it'll be worth it. But for me, that's one of my regrets. I wish I'd had the right perspective on my job. Set up Robinhood, start investing. So this is like after tax stuff. After you've set your budget up, or after you've done the priority things, figure out a way to put money into Robinhood or get that money. That it's been taxed. Now, the only problem is the nice thing about a Roth. So really, it's like 2 things, right? The nice thing about a Roth is you don't get taxed on the investments. The thing that stinks about Robinhood accounts is you get taxed on the capital gains. But one of the ways you could save for your house is put it in Robinhood. Maybe that's what you should do. Is when you save for your house, which probably goes without saying for kids today. Take that money and put it into Robinhood because you're going to need it to be somewhat liquid. Take chances in your career. Now, clearly, when my wife was at home and I had 4 kids, in this case, my wife was at home and I had 2 kids, I didn't feel like I could take a lot of chances in my career. I was just nervous. But man, this kind of goes back to that looking for a new job every 2 years. Take chances in your career, man. Like my one son, his contract ended when he was 23 and a half. And you know what I told him? I said, you know what, Jack, you're not particularly happy with what you're doing. You know what, take a chance. You have no risks. You're at home. You have no expenses, no bills for the most part. Take a chance. Your next job, it took him probably 5 months, 4 months to 5 months to find, but he looked for something that he thought fit his personality and fit what he wanted to do. So once you're in there, I think you're more likely to take chances too in something that you enjoy. I am not going to tell you, oh, love what you do and you'll never work a day in your life. Even though that may be true for a few, you got to make decent money, especially in Jersey. Be aggressive on your investments. I don't think I have to focus on that too much. Go crazy. You got a long way to go. Don't watch too much TV. I think it's real easy to watch a lot of TV and it sucks up a lot of your time. If you're married, you should be going. I remember Beth and I would walk. We would walk to where the Chinese place was and get dinner and eat it in the park. Do stuff. Get on all the right Reddit threads. I didn't do this. My second son is a master at this. He gets on the really not the stupid Reddit threads, but he gets on the really informative stock investing lifestyle Reddit threads. I wish I had some examples for you, but this is those things I wish I had done. So get on the right Reddit threads. You can learn a ton of information. Use AI, ChatGPT, Grok, Claude. There's another one that I just discovered called Claude. Use it professionally. Use it personally. My kids were telling me over the weekend they actually pay for the premium because you can hit deep search and it does all sorts of stuff. Now, I did call one of my kids out and say, well, how do you use it personally? Because I used it personally to do a vacation agenda. And he said it seems like he gets a lot more use out of it out of work than he does for personal, but use it. It's free. I love it. When I use it, it's great. I used it to just get some prices on vacations. Every time you move your jobs, move your 401k. My third son, he's getting ready to start his new job. After a couple months, I'm going to ping him. Get your 401k because it's much easier, especially if you're moving jobs every 2 years. It's much easier to manage one 401k as opposed to like 7 401ks. Okay, this one's a little controversial. Become a man. You know, step up. Now, this is for the men. A lot of the women are doing really, I feel like women in general are doing very well right now. They're the highest percentage graduating from college. They seem to be on their games. I hear stories about women supporting their Slack boyfriends. If you're, so I feel like I have to say something to the men at this age. Be a man. Do the best you can do. Run hard, look good, treat women with respect, invite them out, just hit it hard, be a man. Women will be attracted, but be emotional, be honest, share your feelings, share your thoughts. It's teamwork all the time, but make her feel like she's got somebody there who's really with her, standing strong financially, emotionally, the whole shoot match. But you don't have to be a girl to be that. Get a hobby. P.S. Xbox, not a hobby. Golf is awesome. Like there's so many, you can play golf your whole life. Like basketball is a great hobby, but it's going to rip your knees up. There's things, but get a hobby. That's going to pay off so much. That's one of my regrets now. We went golfing. We went to Top Golf over the weekend, had so much fun. And one of my things I'm going to start doing, I'm waiting for a buddy of mine to retire, is start golfing more. Cause that's one of my regrets. So many big things happen on the golf course. Get a hobby. Xbox, not a hobby. Part of that man thing again. Women don't want to come home and see you. The first thing you do is get on the Xbox and smoke weed and play Call of Duty, whatever. That may not be what everyone does today, but it just torques me off. Give to something real. We've always given to Compassion International, which supports starving children around the world. Begin to realize at this age that the world isn't just about you, and start working into your budget charity, to give to others. That's something I've done good with. That's something I have nailed, but I don't think I did that great of a job with my kids, teaching them to do that. Volunteer somewhere. We work, you're fairly young. Now, when you have the little kids, this is probably in your 25, 26, 27, 28. When you have the little kids, man, when you get home, and this is all hands on deck. Now, I know my wife stayed home, but it's all hands on deck. So you don't have too much time for hobbies. You're getting home. You're helping with the kids. You're helping with dinner. You're helping clean. You're doing all that stuff. You are a partner. But I can tell you the guys that we work with and the girls that volunteer at church from like 20, and they're probably 25 to 30, don't have kids. Some of them are married. They just love it. You get a lot out of it when you give. With investing, right? With investing, don't panic. I remember on the bus watching the investments right after 9/11 and everything was just tanking. I remember after the tech fall, that was before 9/11. I had money invested and everything just fell apart. And I'll never forget interviewing a guy, which would be more telling my 55-year-old self. He was interviewing me and he was like 68, 69. And I just knew he couldn't do the job. I worked for an investment bank, high stress, moving quick. And he told me his story. And it was basically just he had invested all his money in tech and lost it all. So that's the older person making sure you have a balanced portfolio. But I just did a video on that. I did a video on my video and people think mine's a little conservative. They're probably right. So don't panic in your investment. Dollar cost average, keep putting that money in. Don't borrow against it. Keep going. Because that money you put in this age bracket is what funds your retirement later on. Like a lot of my money that funds the retirement is money I put in like in my 30s. I had a pension, so I cashed out the pension. I'm going to do a video on that too, why I did that. But I cashed out a pension, which was ridiculous. Not cashing it out, but the pension I got was ridiculous. But that money that you put in early is the engine that really cranks it later on. So that's it. Those are the things I wish I could tell my 25 to 34-year-old self. I mean, I did some of them, some I didn't do. I'm going to do some other ones. You'll see 35, 44, 45, 54, 55 and up. I'm just right on the 55 range. So put in your comments stuff you guys, additional stuff you have. I would actually love to share your comments with my kids because I'm certain I'm missing some. I left some blank. That's one of those business skills. They always say if you're doing an outline or you're leading a group and you're doing it bullet by bullet, always put an empty bullet so that people want to fill it. So I'm sure I've missed tons, but I'm leaving enough so that everybody else can put their opinions in. So throw them in the comments. Hey, if no one's not interested in this, I won't do it. I just thought it would be a lot of fun. We were talking about it the other night, and I'm certain, and it'll be fun too, because if there's people on my channel that are in this age range, I'm certainly they would love to hear from some people that are already retired and or that are a little older than them that would have some words of advice. So thanks for listening. I appreciate every one of you guys. I'm going to win you one at a time. I can't even believe I'm saying this. Please subscribe. I'm getting a couple subscribers as I go, but I'm really appreciative. The numbers, every person that watches, I am just so appreciative. I don't need this to make money, but I do enjoy it. And in my retirement, it gives me something kind of fun to do and kind of a mission to help other people. And I love to hear from everyone. So have a great day. I will talk to you later.